morning. I'm Iman Rapeti from Newsroom Africa. You can also just appreciate how much courage it would take to come out and speak in a format like this, after having chatted to the chair about how difficult this journey has been with you over all of these many years. I guess the first question for me is, has your faith in God been shaken by what's happened? The second question would be, I had a conversation with the NDPP advocate, Shamila Matoy, and she had asked for the opportunity to talk to you directly and spend some time with you, whether you are open to that.
Maybe let me tell you, before we came in here in the boardroom, we had a prayer session, which was asked by them that we have a prayer. So they still pray, but let them, who wants to take that one on? Yeah? Okay.
Can I answer that?
Oh, no, let her answer, then we'll take more questions.
We were just talking that we left church, but we didn't leave God.
Okay, thanks. Christopher?
Good morning. This is Criselda Lewis from SABC Television News. I want to concur with what my colleague Iman had said about really commending your bravery. And, you know, as a woman myself, one cannot begin to imagine what it is that you have gone through. But I'd just like to ask you, how did you cope for so long? There were others that could not. There were others that couldn't even be here today. And what would justice look like for you? Because after the court had come to its decision, at this point we haven't heard anything about where Timothy Omotoso is. What would justice really look like for you? I know the CRL Commission, in fact, with 2 other Chapter 9 institutions, say they want an inquiry into this matter. Someone needs to answer about how this had gone so terribly wrong. Thank you.
Thank you. There was a hand that side, then we will provide the answers.
My name is Christian Lucy from Netwerk 24. My question would be, so what are the steps that you are asking for that should be taken now? You mentioned an investigation. Who should conduct that investigation, and what should the scope of that investigation be? Are there any other steps you are asking for? Thank you.
Thank you. Chair, over to you. We will deal with these first 3 questions and come back to
Okay. How did you cope for so long? Who wants to take that one? Okay.
I think having each other was contributed most to our strength, not knowing that we are alone, knowing that we're not alone, and just keeping the faith and knowing that he was in custody was somehow comfort for us. But now that he's out there, justice for us would mean him being held accountable, knowing that he's not out there. So with us saying we need a proper investigation done, we would like, the CRL has already put up for us an opportunity to open an investigation, hopefully. We would like them to look into our prosecution team, because a lot went wrong, like we stated in our statement. If they can look into how everything was being run, how the NPA ran this whole case from the very beginning, the changes that were made to this case after we had already given our statements, we would really appreciate that. So if the matter with the prosecution team and how they handled things would be investigated, it would give us some sort of peace. Thank you.
you.
Okay.
You take the others, Joe. Investigation.
What would justice look like for you? I think you covered part of that in terms of what you would like to see. What are the steps that the investigation will look into? We're looking at the whole system from the time you go to the police station all the way when we are found guilty or not found guilty, up to the time if you found guilty of parole because of repeat offenders. So it will be a systemic look into the system, the criminal justice system. But we're also saying in this particular case, everything that could go wrong went wrong for some reason. But there is nothing that went the normal way. So the 8 years has been an 8 years of struggle for them. The fact that you start with such a high number, 60 odd, and you end up with 11, should tell you that something went wrong. There's also the issue raised that although you did respond to this one, to the prosecutor who says the NDP, Shamila Batoy, would like to talk to you. You did send a message to her through the prosecutor, so I don't know if you want to take that one or you'd rather not, or you want me to take that one? You want to? Okay.
Hello everyone. Thank you for being here, and thank you to the CRL for creating this platform for us. This is especially special because we're all here together. So, in terms of the proposed meeting with Ms. Shamila Batohi, we are considering our options at this point in time. We're still processing the disappointment and processing just how betrayed we feel and by the system, because we did give them everything that was expected of us. We did push them in the right direction in terms of collecting physical evidence and not just depending on our testimonies. You know, it's unheard of in a criminal case, depending on just the witnesses' testimonies. So I don't know how that was allowed to happen in ours. I also think, or we also think that of wanting to meet with us now at this point in time, it feels like too little, too late. It would have been great to have such a meeting perhaps earlier on in the time when we were reaching out to her. Perhaps when things started going wrong in the case, prosecutors were being changed. We would love to be involved in knowing who was going to be defending us and what their process was to try and secure a conviction for us. So we are just worried about if this is genuine concern or if it's just a decision that's being made under pressure. To look like you're doing something, to look like you care now. With our case, we have received our verdict, but I think for us the most important thing is what happens from here onwards, because all of us get messages from people who are similar to us, who have gone through the same things, and they need guidance and they want to know where to go, what to do. And if we can't tell them that the system is going to be able to protect them and really defend them the way defense attorneys defend perpetrators, then
Can I get an indication of further questions, if any? Let me, is that a follow-up to Senator, or is it your question? Otherwise, I can go back.
It's follow-up.
Okay, I'll give you to do the follow-up question, and then I'll come to you. It's also a follow-up. Okay, so let me just deal with the follow-ups, 1, 2, and then this will come back, come after that, okay, guys.
Okay, so Christian again from the Indictment. So you asked for an investigation. Chair, are you now saying, or are you announcing that the CRL will indeed be investigating this issue? And can you just, you spoke a bit about the areas where you will focus on. Can you just elaborate on the investigation? Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
I think I would be loud enough.
Okay, okay,
Yes,
Priscilla.
thanks, Natalie. Perhaps to any of the ladies, did you feel safe at all? Did you feel safe at all? Because just in line with what my colleague from Network 24 had spoken about, the CRL Commission already did announce that it wants to have this particular outcome looked into. We saw what happened to Pamela Mabini. And the words I would recall, Chair, coming from you, were that even witness protection had failed these women. You said there's no such thing as witness protection. That is what you said. So on that premise, did any of you feel kept safe at the time that you had to traverse through this ordeal? Did any of you feel safe for yourselves, for your families, for your children? Also in light of what we saw happen to Pamela Mabini.
Thank you.
Okay.
Let's go back at the back there. So we'll take those 3. Okay, Clone, you can talk.
If she can speak up, she can go.
Yeah, you can stand up and.
I have a few questions. I don't know if I can get through all of them. Maybe the first one would be just any comment on the other 2 accused. You know, we've spoken a lot about the pastor, Timothy himself, but has the other 2 said anything? Do you understand how they even got into this position as well? Is it a case of maybe they had a similar thing that happened to them, and so they've been groomed in a way for this to happen to them? So just a comment on the other 2 accused. And then just, what does this mean for victims in the future? You talk about being let down by the system, and that's a strong message that's come out there. What about people who now want to report in the future? What happens to them if they come forward and this happens to them? And would you have come forward if you knew that they would end up in this way?
Thank you. Chair, over to you and whoever else would like to.
Okay.
Yes, over to you.
The investigation, I think we had was it last Thursday? We had a press conference where we explained exactly what the investigation would cover. So I'm sure Mpiake can give you our press statement that covers exactly what we'll be looking into. What doing it together with the other Chapter 9 institutions, the South African Human Rights Commission and the Commission for Gender Equality. Did you feel safe at all at any given stage during these long years? Who wants to take that one about safety?
Good
safety right now is like a really foreign word for us. We've never felt safe. I don't think any of us has ever felt safe. Because we know how the congregation behaves for that money. And our protection right now, especially now that we are here with the judgment, we are not depending on anyone but God. He has been our sole protector. That is what we believe in so much. And I don't think anyone can protect us but God. Thank you.
Okay. I think the question was, any comment on the other two in terms of the co-accused? Was it about that?
Yes.
From somewhere there at the back?
Yes.
In terms of how they feel about the other two, or in terms of where they are in terms of the judgment?
Just a general comment on the other two.
Does anyone want to comment on the co-accused at this stage? You see, it's also difficult because they've been found not guilty. And obviously they were just co-accused and enablers allegedly. So where we are now, the judgment did not go that far in terms of the co-accused and their role in this whole sordid situation. So no one wants to go there. What about other victims who want to come forward? Anyone wants to take that one? You see, from us, we had, I don't want to say quite a few, we had a number of victims we had said to, let's observe what happens with this case. And that once we know and there's a judgment, we can then take you through the system. Where we are right now, really, I wouldn't advise anyone at this point to try the system until we investigate the system, until we have a response from government that says we're rectifying this thing and we see it being rectified. We never thought that the prosecutors could be part of the problem. We thought the problem could be, cross-examined as a witness and you have, you fall apart or you change your story or whatever. That did not happen. And the judgment is very clear about that the problem was not the witnesses. They told their story, they told their truth, and they defended their truth. We know the problem was with the prosecutors, but as a complainant, what control do you have over that? You need to just trust that the system will protect you. But we're sitting here today knowing that the system didn't protect them. I've said this before, that if you think this country has a witness protection program, well, sitting here, I know it doesn't work. I'm sure Cheryl can tell you, we ended up with the public protector trying to intervene to make the system work. We walked away with nothing still. So if in such a high-profile case, with the CRL Commission pushing the system, we couldn't make it work. I wonder what's happening to Tandi, Mbumbulu, a KZN who was raped by known boys in her village. What kind of protection is there for her? If there wasn't any for these brave young women here. So hence we're saying not only did the prosecution collapse, the whole system collapsed. We ended up with a case in PE when the crime was committed in Durban. We're still going to find out why. Why didn't the police in Durban arrest this man? There's a story to be told there. Wanele Noneliswa, their mother fought like a lioness. Unfortunately, she's late now. But she fought hard for her children. She could not get them out of the system because the police were his bouncers. So if you go with the bouncers and they take off their jackets and put them on the floor and let the men of God walk all over them, then you know you have no system. So part of the investigation will also look into that as to what makes the system not to move. A lot of cases, the police at the police station say, we don't deal with cases of churches and traditional healing here. We look at other things. Who determines that? So we'll be looking at the whole system and then saying their fight was not in vain. They are sitting here as very strong survivors. They are the fighters. They'll remain the warriors. This is not how their story will end. We will make sure that we find solutions to the system. They will be leaders of the day when the system changed for victims in South Africa. So the battle still goes on. We will be fighting. They will be there to tell their story as well when we do the investigation. They'll have to say when they approached the NDPP and wrote to the NDPP, what response did they get? Because when you write to the highest authority, red flags should be up there for you to say, let me go see for myself what is happening. It's not illegal for her to come down and say, you girls are having a problem here. What is happening? But that did not happen. So it's part of what we look into as to how these things fell apart and how do we make sure that those that come after them do not experience the same thing. It is very painful for us that we kept promising these young people that the system will take care of you. And I'll be the first one to apologize to them. Had I known, I would have said, hey, go hide under your beds. This is just not going to work. But there's also that we have these brave young girls here who are ready to move on. So, thank you.
Thank you. I've seen a man has a
Oh, are there still hands?
Can I
Okay.
just see other hands, if any? Iman. Shoni, you have a follow-up question? Okay, Iman, for your follow-up question, and then Christina.
it's horrific to hear you say what you just said about other potential victims out there. That they, are better off just running and hiding under their beds. We're in a country where 1 in 3 women, 1 in 3 people over the age of 18 are victims of sexual violence in some form or another. We have incredibly high levels of GBV. And they have the proof in front of them today, as you're saying, in the case of those who accused Timothy Omotoso. It's just shocking what you're saying and the reality that you're connecting to through what you've experienced in the system. And what you're also saying is rather not go forward. Is that the only option that we have? I mean, shouldn't there be some kind of other emergency or crisis in the country that says every, rape survivor, rape accuser who comes forward, there needs to be a different protocol or a different response. So that's the one thing, that it's a complete indictment on our system. The second thing, and it might be even harder for you young ladies to hear, but I'm sure that you've already been experiencing that over the last many years through the course of this trial, is people who say, and as journalists, we have to keep that line of the facts. You've been in court, the matter's been heard, notwithstanding what the judge has said in the deficiencies in the prosecution. That for others, you've been through court, you've had your moment, the court has decided. So, in other words, you are not entitled to the view that you hold, that you're lying or you lied about your experience. And I'd love your response to people in society who think that, after having come through the court system, who say court is the final arbiter, court has decided so, the innocence or the non-culpability of those accused has been established. And then I think for the CRL, the teeth that you need within the religious communities, we've heard over and over again around self-regulation. There are pastors and churches who believe that they are called by God. They have a direct telephone line to God, so they don't have to conform to anything that you say or any system or framework that you try and put in place. What is your strong message to those pastors, but also to other pastors and preachers who allow this to happen in the name of God? What is their responsibility, rather than just sort of sitting back and saying, it's not our church, it's not our problem? Should this be a collective response from churches across South Africa? Should they be more vocal?
Thank you, Chriselle.
Thank you very much. Once again, Criselda Lewis from SABC Television News. Just to add on one last part that my colleague Iman had mentioned, I'm not saying that churches should be regulated. For the past week, fortunately, we've attended quite a number of press conferences here at the CRL, and together with the Chapter 9 institutions. Perhaps, have you as the CRL received any backlash at any insinuation, and I'm not saying regulated, but this is one, if I can call it an industry, it certainly looks like an industry, where anyone can go anywhere, set up a tent, and pretend to be a man of God. And unfortunately, that individual will have followers. So what is to be done in a situation where Parliament itself needs to step in and say something needs to be done? And quite poignant that this discussion is being had in a Holy Week. And perhaps to the ladies, when I asked the question about how safe you felt throughout this entire ordeal, I would really like to know, since the ruling was handed down in that court, have any of you been threatened?
Thank you, Tony. Can we get yours? Then the chair. Oh, Tony, you can stand up and raise your question.
Maybe to the chair, first question is just in terms of this briefing. Is it not, and I know there was a thing about meeting the NTPP and that being a little confusing. Is this also not a reactionary response as opposed to maybe before when all of this was still unfolding and playing itself out? Why does maybe and again, just in terms of for future victims, what does this say to future victims? Would you do this? Would you encourage future victims also to speak out?
Chair, can I just take, can I take 2 more?
Okay.
EWN. I mean, introduces, and then I will take the hand as well.
Give them the mic.
Can I use this one?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Zonica Backlash from Accusers News. Chair, I think it was about in 2017, the CRL Commission also had launched an investigation into churches and regulating that space. What has happened since then? With the launch of this new investigation, how do you suppose that will now assist victims or survivors of gender-based violence, particularly in churches, and reverse what some have labeled as a travesty of justice?
Thank you. There was, this mic. There is a mic that side. Oh, you can raise your voice that side.
It's Karinda from Newsroom Africa. Thank you so much for the bravery. I'd just like to know, everyone's calling for an appeal, and it looks like the NPA is looking to whether there could be an appeal, but it might also mean that you would have to take the stand again, be cross-examined again. What goes on in your mind if you think that might happen? Would you be willing to go through that again and to just shed light on that?
Thanks, Chair. Can we take the questions?
Okay, let me start maybe at the end. They would never ever be asked again to give evidence. If there's an appeal, it will be based on the transcripts of what they said before. So that door is closed, and they will never ever have to go to court on this particular matter and on these charges. You see, when people come to you, Iman, and they say, this and this and that is happening to me. When Pamela Mabini came to us way back and said there's something happening in Durban, in a particular church, at that point we're very confident about the system being able to do what the system needs to do. And that if you tell the truth and you stick to the truth, the judgment will favor you. We're here today without that confidence. What we're saying is that allow us to interrogate the system. Hence, as the Civil Rights Commission, we said, let's bring in the other 2 Chapter 9 institutions so that we know that we cover all bases as we move forward. When this investigation is done, which will take not a long time, we should be done with it 3 months, 4 months, and we should come up with very strong recommendations. What I am saying is, until that happens, I'm in a bind right now that I can't give guarantees to anyone. We learned the hard way in the system that when it collapses, it falls over you totally and completely. So, by the end of the investigation, we should be confident enough to say, okay, come then, let's go through the system. But right now, I don't want to deceive you. I really, really have no confidence. Because even if there's an appeal and there's a change in the judgment, that's not going to mean the system has been corrected. It doesn't correct the system. It's not about the end, it's about where it started, right until the end. So even if the appeal goes through and it's successful, it doesn't change the problem of how they experience the system. It's still horrendous. So you still need to deal with the system and to correct it. So right now, we're still praying over it. What you say to people who say you lied? You did say something in your statement about that. Do you want to add something? Okay. Sharon.
We didn't lie. I don't think anyone would voluntarily decide to, think up or cook up the saddest, most painful story in the world, because there's nothing to gain from that, really. If sympathy looks like it's a nice thing to get from people, then I think people got it really wrong. It's not nice for people to look at us and feel sorry for us. We're powerful women. All of us here, and those of us who aren't here with us right now, have careers. We've got things going for ourselves. And also we're just girls. We're becoming women. So we're not looking to try and convince anyone that what we said was the truth, because we know it is, and I think that gives us peace of mind. Those who are denying what they did to us, we just have to hope that they'll also have their day, maybe they'll grow a conscience and stand for something someday. But we stand by our truth. We didn't lie, and we're not going to try too hard to convince anyone of that. And if you want to believe us, that's great, because you're standing for the truth, and if you don't, then honestly, it's okay. That's your prerogative.
Okay. I will come back to the one about other religious leaders and the message to those. I'll go to, have you received any backlash from the industry in terms of, I think that's for the CRL, yeah. Have you been threatened since the judgment? Yeah.
Not only have we been threatened, but we've also been, because like everybody knows the behavior of the people of the church. They would do anything, they would do just about anything to make sure that they protect or they get favor from their church leader. Some of us have received threats. Some of us have been, because they've been having their own dealing about our lives, personal lives, or anything that could actually embarrass us. We've been backlashed and we've been bashed at on social media. There's a lot of shameful things that they do to make sure that they cover the sins of their pastor. I know all of them know, most of them know that the kind of the man that man is, but they would do anything to make sure that he looks like a saint, that they are painting him out to be. So there have been threats, there have been, especially mostly from the congregants of the church, from all the branches, different branches, because we are from different branches. Our social media accounts, they've been posting things about us, and we know that more is still going to come. We know that after this, we're still going to receive a lot. So yes, it hasn't been easy, and we know it's still not going to be easy, but we are standing by our word.
Okay, thanks. I think the rest was for the CRL Commission. the fact that people who open up churches says they're called by God. What is your message to other religious leaders? You say, I think we're all called to whatever profession we end up in, whether we're a teacher or a doctor or anything. So this is a profession, it's a career that people choose to follow. And it cannot be that in this country where everything is regulated, where the Constitution, Section 22 says, choose a career or trade or profession, but it may be regulated. And it exempts individuals who are operating in this sector. So we're very much clear about not regulating religion. We can never regulate religion because there's freedom of religion in this country. But human beings who do things in the name of Jesus Christ, well, cannot be exempted from being regulated as human beings. So, well, we used to that kind of situation where people fight back. I think we need to understand that it's not all religious people who will fight back, but the entrepreneurs in this business called church will fight for their market space, because to them this is a business. You're going to interfere with my business, don't go there, you know, this is holy ground. We know it's holy ground, but you will be looked into. No matter how you want to spin this, you can't spin it forever. Your peers will sit down and say, this is how you will be looked into. These are the elements and what kind of behavior we expect from people who are our peers, as it happens everywhere, in any profession. So, is this a reactionary response? I'm not sure whether this means here and now, or it means the Section 2 committee. We never react. We always have a plan. So when it comes to how we think churches should be run, we've been at it from 2015. So we're not just saying, oh, because of this crisis with Omotoso, we're going to have this. It was part of the plan from then. When we launched our report in 2017, we did say that there needs to be some kind of system put in place. And we're saying the people who will be part of the peer review committee that will come up with a plan for the nation will tell us what they expect Parliament to do, what they expect government to do, what they expect society to do. So that will go as it should go. We're not starting now. We've faced battles in the past, threats and what have you. We laid criminal charges at some point when the threats became untenable. Went to court and the person was found guilty, sentenced to 3.5 years, just to prove that it's not a fantasy in my head that I'm getting threats. So someone had to go to jail for threats. We were getting threats, some of them, most of them anonymous, but one made a mistake of not being anonymous and became confident. So the threats will always be there. If you stop doing your job because you are afraid, then the system will all collapse. We need to know that there are things that need to be done. There are things that need to be said, and us being scared all the time and watching and looking in dismay is not going to protect anyone. We need to protect people even from Omotoso'S church. They need to be protected themselves. As these young warriors said, that those people from that church should thank them that they've kept Omotoso away for 8 years. He could have been fooling around with their own children. They could be outside singing now, but if he was not in jail, he could have been harming their own children. So we're not going to be pussyfooting around the issue of there's chaos in Christianity caused by a minimum number of religious leaders who need to be called to order. So we're not doubtful about that. That needs to happen. Dangerous or not, but we're at it. We started, as you say, Zolega, way back in 2017. Hence, we're saying we're more agitated now than we've ever been before, and we'll be pushing with everything that we have to make sure that this happens. And we have answers as a nation that will solve all our problems in the Christian faith. That was the last one.
Yes, thank you. I think we'll be moving towards concluding this press conference, unless there is one that is very, very pressing. But it looks like we have covered most of the issues or questions. With that, I would like to express our greatest appreciation to our daughters who are here and have been able to express themselves. We also want to thank members of the media for having taken time. The short days, some of them could have been on the road to prepare to go to the Easter holidays. But we took time to come here. We want to thank the leadership of the Civil Rights Commission. We also want to emphasize that all of you, please make sure that you sign the register, which is outside. We will send you the statement via WhatsApp or via email within the next few minutes, but just make sure that your number is there on the register or